Yeah, I never realized words have such can create an imagery.
Oh yes, definitely. I think who can relate to our bodies being basically in need of resurrection with the nerve wiring and the insulation's gone with all the batterings it gets, and of course, not to talk too much. I like to just let them speak. These folks who are higher up the mountain than me, I easily admit. Oh, here's another beautiful one. May I still the gale of passions. Okay. Oh Spirit, may I find thee in meditation by banishing restlessness, sensory impressions, and consciousness of breath. Let the gale of passions and desires be stilled by a magic wand of divine perceptions. In a rippleless mental lake, may I behold the undistorted reflection of the moon of my soul, glistening with the light of thy presence. That's beautiful. The magic wand of divine perceptions. Yeah, that's another one. Oh, here's another one. Save us from the dragnet of delusion. By stealth, the fisherman transitoriousness deludes us. We swim in the shallow waters of false assurances of safety, the while a deadly net of ignorance is closing in upon us. In the daily hall, many men are caught, few escape. O measureless mercy, save us from the dread dragnet of desires and matter attachment. May we dive into deep, silent deep spaces of divine communion and become uncapturable. I have another one here. What's this one? This is right to what I was saying about war. This is a prayer for peace, written in 1944, right, during such horrific times. Even then. Father, all peoples are weary of the carnage, the loss of throbbing lives. O youth, so dead, so deathless, and a man's material heritage. O Monte Cassino, symbol of centuries, dignity, destroyed in a day, famous monastery in Italy. We learn hardly that war, like crime, does not pay, solving nothing. World War I led only to World War II. Victor and vanquished alike still see but afar the goal of virtue and brotherhood. Thou alone art Almighty, O Father, listen to our supplications and swiftly terminate the war injustice. Help to end the bombings of the innocent young and the helpless old. May our prayers and thy blessings mitigate the war-creating karma of nations and quickly stop this frightening bloodshed. Divine Majesty, thou art sitting on the throne of all hearts. Inspire us with spiritual understanding that we may overcome fear and hate. With faith in thee, may we be steadfast in the path of righteousness. O Lord of Law, teach us to remove the true cause of war, heedlessness of thy word. Let's see if we can apply that today. Here's another one. The caravan of my prayers is moving onward. The caravan of my prayers is moving toward thee. It has been delayed now and then by blinding sandstorms of despondency. As I lead the sacred procession, I glimpse afar an oasis of thy silent encouragement. My spirits revive. I redouble my efforts to reach thee. May I dip my thirsty lips of faith into thy bliss well and drink deep. So that's some of Yogananda's poems, and I think they're pertinent today. By the way, Yogananda, some people may not have read his autobiography, and that spiritual classic. And there's something in the back, I think it'd be pertinent for people to hear. It says, Paramahansa Yogananda entered Mahasamadhi, a yogi's final conscious exit from the body, in Los Angeles, California, on March 7th, 1952, after concluding the speech at a banquet held in honor of H.E. Binay Arsen, Ambassador of India. The governor of California was there also. The great world teacher demonstrated the value of yoga scientific techniques for God realization, not only in life but in death. Weeks after his departure, his unchanged face shone with the divine luster of incorruptibility. Mr. Harry T. Rowe, Los Angeles Mortuary Director, Forest Lawn Memorial Park, in which the body of the great master is temporarily placed, sent Self-Realization Fellowship a notarized letter from which the following extracts are taken. The absence of any visual signs of decay in the dead body of Paramahansa Yogananda offers the most extraordinary case in our experience. No physical disintegration was visible in his body even 20 days after death. No indication of mold was visible on his skin, and no visible desiccation, drying up, took place in the bodily tissues. This state of perfect preservation of a body is, so far as we know from mortuary annals, an unparalleled one. At the time of receiving Yogananda's body, the mortuary personnel expected to observe through the glass lid of the casket the usual progressive signs of bodily decay. Our astonishment increased as day followed day without bringing any visible change in the body under observation. Yogananda's body was apparently in a phenomenal state of immutability. No odor of decay emanated from his body at any time. The physical appearance of Yogananda on March 27, just before the bronze cover of the casket was put into position, was the same as it had been on March 7th. He looked on March 27th as fresh and as unravished by decay as he had looked on the night of his death. On March 27th, there was no reason to say that his body had suffered any visible physical disintegration at all. For these reasons, we state again that the case of Paramahansa Yogananda is unique in our experience. Now, what doesn't say there, and I'd like to find the poem for another time, was he was reading a poem about when the ideals of the East are married to the practicality of the West, we will have a golden age. And when he was reading the poem, which I'll find the poem for you, but basically on the part of the poem where he said something about when my body hits the sacred sod, earth, on the word sod, he left his body consciously. And as he told his disciples and Kriyananda, Swami Kriyananda, tomorrow is going to be a big day for me. That's the day before the banquet. So, yeah, what a godsend.
Wasn't that true for a lot of saints as well? Their bodies didn't decay?
That's true, yes. Yeah, it's not the first case, but in America, obviously, we don't seem to produce too many at this point. But with all the information coming in, I'm sure there'll be more people, and the people with all these spiritual teachers reminding us to live what's in the holy, books we grew up with. That'll happen more and more. I mean, we've had, over the centuries, it's happened. There are many that their body was incorruptible. They were so. I'm sure Teresa Newman was one of those people. She was pretty recent. Yes, it happens. So it's not the first time. I'm sure it won't be the last time. But just something that, for the man in California with that great big population, he never encountered anybody, anybody from Hollywood where he's going to, comment on that.
Oh yeah, that is pretty rare, actually.
Yeah. And just by the way, just to say, the autobiography is dedicated to Luther Burbank, the famous, horticulturalist that he considered an American saint. So, it's.
Continue to part 3.
Oh yes, definitely. I think who can relate to our bodies being basically in need of resurrection with the nerve wiring and the insulation's gone with all the the batterings it gets, and of course not to talk too much. I like to just let them speak. These folks who are higher up the mountain than me, I easily admit. Oh, here's another beautiful one. In a rippleless mental lake, may I behold the undistorted reflection of the moon of my soul, glistening with the light of thy presence. Isn't that beautiful? The magic wand of divine perceptions. Yeah, that's another one. Oh, here's another one. So that's Yoga Sama Yogananda's poems, and I think they're pertinent today. Now, what doesn't say there, and I'd like to find the poem for another time, was he was reading a poem about when the ideals of the East are married to the practicality of the West, we will have a golden age.